Hello everyone, Sam here. How are we all doing? Now, the biggest trap of all with OCD suffering is the belief that if I just work this one thing out, then I'll be at peace. And then I can obtain relief. And then I can get on with my life. And then I can just be OCD free and get on with my life. Life goes to plan and I can be happy. That is a trap. Why is that a trap? Because even if you got peace, even if you worked it out, even if you found a solution, even if you got certainty on whatever it is you're trying to work out, all OCD would do is move the goalposts. All it will do is find something else. All it will do is hit you from a different angle. It will manipulate, it will twist, it will find a different theme via morphing, it will switch, it will find a way in there. Don't you worry about that. It knows what you're scared of. It's looking at your irrational beliefs almost like a menu. Right, that irrational belief right there. This person is stating that he must never ever do wrong in the past, and that he must not have ever done wrong, and if he's done wrong, he's the worst person ever. Right, okay. So even if you got certainty on this one thing, what about another thing? What about the other thing? Okay, even if you haven't even done anything, it doesn't matter. OCD doesn't give a crap about that because the convincedness, the realness will come in with complete intensity, so you can't even tell the difference between whether it's real or not. Okay, so it doesn't even matter if the thing actually happened. It's going to feel real, and it's complete nonsensical to say, if I work this one out, then I will get relief, because no, you won't. Hear it from me. I am somebody that was a serial confessor. I used to confess all the time. Why did I used to confess? Because of this exact belief. If I just confess this thing and get this thing off my chest, then I can be at peace. Then I will get relief. Then I can go and live my life anxiety and guilt and shame free. Rubbish. I would then confess, and then 5 minutes later I'm confessing something else. And then a day later it's morphed, it's switched, it's changed, it's twisted something up, it's found a different angle, it's focused on something else, it's suggested something else, but if you've done that, you've done this, what about this thing 10 years ago? And then I got to confess that, and then this, and then that, and then this. It was never ending. It truly wasn't. So this is where what we talk about on coaching calls is unconditional acceptance. And this is why that is crucial, because unconditional acceptance gets under even if this thing was real. We break down even if it were real. That's not saying it is real. You're not ever saying it is real and that's it. No, you're saying even if it were real, how could I learn to be at peace with myself? How could I learn to unconditionally accept myself and the life circumstance and so on? We do that via compassion. We do that by understanding. We do that by looking at all the factors at play. So that then leads to more compassion, okay? We look at the black and white catastrophic thinking. We look at the rating of yourself. So if you're labeling yourself, if you're downing yourself as a terrible, horrible person, how you are. Because when you're going around in your head trying to work something out, that's fueled by the fears, right? And you have irrational beliefs associated with your core fears. So let's say you have a fear of being a bad person, and you would have beliefs such as, if I do X, Y, and Z, therefore I am a bad person. Or it will be absolutely terrible if I have done X, Y, and Z, because that makes me a bad person, which I must not be, right? So then that is why you're going round in your head trying to prove that you're not a bad person. But you can't get proof from that, because let's say you've done something wrong. Let's look at real event OCD. Let's say you've genuinely done something wrong and you have the good and bad person concept. That's a belief that you cling on to. Then OCD is going to say, yeah, but you've done this, you're a bad person, you're a bad person, you're a bad person. No matter how many times you try and work it out in your head, it doesn't matter. It will fall on deaf ears of OCD, because it will say, yeah, but you're a bad person, you're a bad person. And there's no wonder you'd feel chronically guilty, you'd feel very ashamed, You would feel quite panicked. You would feel quite depressed. You would probably be in that self-neglecting cycle. You'd probably self-punish. You'd probably press the self-destruct button, right? Because you're just saying, I'm a bad person. I'm a terrible, awful person. But what we'll start looking at is, okay, first of all, what's a bad person? Because a bad person would imply that the individual can only do bad things and that they are born bad, and everything that they touch turns to bad, will be rotten. They'd be rotten to the core, right? You're not looking at all the factors at play. If somebody does a bad action, there's genetic factors involved, there's hereditary factors involved, there's environmental factors involved. Okay, if somebody was brought up in the world of violence, for example, it can then make sense if they grew up to then be violent. That's not justifying it. It's not excusing it. It's not just allowing it. It's not supporting it. No, acceptance is an agreement. Definitely not. Okay? Actions like violence and so on would need to be punished, of course. But unconditional acceptance and compassion comes from the angle of, but what's led that person to do such a thing? It's not justifying. It's not excusing any bad behavior at all. It's understanding why that person has done such a thing, all the components which has led for them to behave in such a way. Okay, their upbringing, maybe they had a very troubled upbringing, maybe they have anger problems, therefore they've acted out on anger, they've acted out on impulse, they've acted out in a complete and utter rage, they've acted out on jealousy, right? Yes, it will be their beliefs that's fueling that, of course, but it's understanding why somebody has done what they've done. Now, if you could have compassion for somebody else, for example, you'd be very good at having compassion for yourself, understanding why you would have done something wrong. Now, even if you say, I strongly regret your action in the past, that's fine, okay? You're not trying to elude your accountability for the actions that you've done. No, if you've done something wrong, which many people have done, imagine somebody in jail, imagine somebody that's actually done a wrong thing. Okay, they can't just pretend that they've done nothing wrong. No, they have to take accountability in order for them to change. They have to be responsible for their bad behavior in order for them to change, right? But emotionally, they're going to be very disturbed if they're then beating themselves up endlessly, if they're then punishing themselves endlessly by calling themselves a bad, evil, terrible person, right? So what they would have to do is acknowledge their poor behavior and condemn their poor behavior and regret their poor behavior and see how that was wrong. Of course, that needs to be encouraged. People will need to be shown how their poor behavior is wrong. Hence why people are punished for their bad behaviors. Hence why people go to jail and so on. Okay? Because that all has reasons for, and very right reasons, that somebody is punished for those actions. However, in order for somebody to learn and to not reoffend and change and adjust and move on and rebuild their life, they have to learn to accept themselves with their poor behavior. If they can't accept themselves, they're going to hate themselves so much that they're not going to be that motivated to change, because they'll just be in that self-destructive mode where, well, what's the point of changing? You hate yourself so much. If you're riddled by guilt and shame, you'd be thinking, what's the fucking point? What is the point of changing? What is the point of changing anything, right? Because you lose that hope. You think, well, I'm going to feel guilt and shame for the rest of my life. Why try and change my behavior? The motivation will be gone. You just wouldn't feel the point of changing. The motivation would be completely gone, and you would probably even reoffend because you hate yourself so much. So the discipline would be gone, the lack of care. You would just lose care for your life. Whereas if you can accept yourself, even if you've made a mistake, even if you've done something that you now significantly regret, you can say, look, I've acknowledged I've done wrong, but now I have to move on from that. I can accept myself for committing my poor behavior. I can accept myself as a fallible, imperfect human with all the different factors involved as to why somebody did what they did, as to why I did what I did, as to why anybody did what they did, right? You watching this video, you might be completely riddled with chronic guilt and shame and going, oh, everything that I do, Sam, everything that I do is just filtered through the lens of guilt. Everything's just weighed down by guilt. I can't even distract myself, Sam. Oh, it's just everything, right? And that's how it feels. To overcome that, okay, we talk about this in coaching calls thoroughly. We go into in-depth detail. To overcome this, we have to learn to separate ourselves from whatever it is we feel guilty about, whatever it is we feel ashamed of, okay? You still take accountability. You can still acknowledge what you've done as wrong, but it's how you can separate yourself, okay, and say, right, how do I learn from that? How do I not do that again? But in order to do that, we have to have compassion for ourselves in the first place as to why we did such a thing, looking at all the factors, looking at all the components, looking at all the different moving parts involved in the human being. Maybe it was just an anger. Maybe you just acted out on anger. Maybe you just acted out in jealousy. Maybe you acted in a moment of rage, right? You're not saying it's right. You're not excusing it at all. But you're seeing why that happened so you don't then do it again. You then work on not doing it again. Changing beliefs, changing behaviors, rebuilding your life, adopting a healthy life structure to prevent that poor behavior again. And I believe that's the only way forward. Otherwise, it's guilt and shame for the rest of your life. You can keep trying to work things out. Let me know how it goes. Let me know how working something out in the past goes. Because for me, there was no success. I didn't work anything out. And even if I got some ounce of certainty, it was an illusion anyway, because OCD just found something else, right? So give up trying to work it out. You won't be at peace by working this one thing out. It's a trap. Don't fall for the con again. Don't get fooled by OCD once again. You won't be able to work it out. OCD will move, it will switch, it will find something else. Instead, go towards unconditional acceptance. Go towards accepting ourselves even if this thing has happened, even if it has happened, and how we can learn to accept ourselves with this and ultimately rebuild and move on. And that comes via compassion, acceptance, understanding. Not agreement, not excusing bad behavior, not at all. In order to move on, we have to learn to apply unconditional acceptance if we want to be emotionally healthier. It's very, very important. Unconditional acceptance saved my life, it changed my life, and it's benefited my life dramatically, emotionally and physically. So important. If you are interested in one-to-one services, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com. Like I said, my name's Sam. You have Rob, the founder of OCD Recovery here. You have Nick, Momin, Gemma and Elliot, all doing coaching calls. If you can email phil@ocdrecovery.com and we can get you booked in as soon as we possibly can on our schedules. Take care, guys. There is hope. You really can get better. You don't have to live with a lifetime of chronic guilt and shame. Okay, there is a life out there. You really, really can recover. It takes time, it takes persistence, but you won't be able to work this out. It will not provide relief. It will not bring peace. We have to take a different approach. And that approach is unconditional self-acceptance. It's so important.